Hello, welcome to another episode on learning, growing, and sharing with Oyinkosila. I hope you've been keeping good. Okay, on today's episode, I'll be sharing some tips to guide your decision on whether or not to share your relationship on social media. All right, let's get into it. Okay, first thing is you need to answer the question on why you want to share, right? Is it because everybody's doing it? Is it because you're in love and you can't wait for the whole world to know, right? You need to answer that question on why you want to share. Okay, so next thing to consider is what does your partner prefer, right? Remember, you're not alone in the relationship, and you also need to consider how your partner feels on what you share on social media about you guys, right? And you need to remember that you shouldn't impose your preference on your partner. You're supposed to communicate and reach an agreement together, right? Love isn't selfish. So consider your partner's preference. Okay, another thing to consider is the timing, right? You need to make sure that you're not sharing too much too soon because that might not be okay, really. Some couples might decide, you know what, why don't we wait until we're months into the relationship or till we're engaged or till we're closer to marriage than father, right? So you can determine when to share, agree on it, discuss, and make sure that you're not sharing too much too soon, right? Okay, another thing to consider is making compromises, right? Remember that there are two of you in the relationship, and in the process of reaching an agreement, you might have to compromise on what to share and who to share with, right? You can always change your mind later on in the relationship, but you need to agree on who you can share certain things with and what exactly you can share with people, right? So you might decide, okay, you know what, rather than sharing on my Instagram feed, I'll share with my close friends on Instagram, right? So my close friends story on Instagram, right? Discuss with your partner and see if that's okay with them. You might also agree that you're not going to share every update about your relationship. Remember, it's two of you in the relationship, and you need to both decide on what to share and when to share and who to share with, right? So I agree on that. You might agree not to share everything on where you're going for your dates, what you had together, and every little thing happening in your relationship. It doesn't have to come on social media, right? So discuss with your partner and be willing to make compromises. All right. Another thing to consider is to avoid sharing too much information, right? That's like my partner's favorite phrase, TMI, TMI. That means too much information, right? I understand that the internet is such a big place and you have to be really careful about what you share on the internet. You need to be security conscious. Not everybody on the internet has good intentions, right? So you have to be careful, really, really careful. And it's also possible that one of your professions, right, either you or your partner's profession, might require that you're a lot more security conscious online. You know, you need to remember that nothing on the internet is actually that private or safe. Even if you delete it later, you still have to be careful. So if you think that there's certain things that you would rather not, have to be on the internet some years from now, then you probably shouldn't share it at all on the internet, right? So be careful on sharing too much information. Okay, another thing to consider is if you're sharing as a content creator or for educative reasons. I mean, everybody loves relationship stuff. Okay, maybe not everybody, but we all like relationship content, right? And if you're one of those people that create content about relationships or share your lifestyle content, you need to be careful, right? You need to be discreet about certain information and make sure that your partner is comfortable with what you're sharing. Something you can do is to have your partner review whatever content you want to share about you guys and see that they're okay with it, right? It's probably safe to avoid assuming also. Make sure you ask them and let them review and give their opinion. If it's something they're not comfortable with you sharing, you can consider rather not posting it at all, right? So consider your partner's opinion on your content or whatever post you're sharing, even if it's for a good reason. All right. So another thing to consider is if you feel like your partner is making you hide the relationship by not sharing about it, right? Instead of jumping into conclusions, it's safe to discuss your concerns with your partner. If you feel like your partner is hiding the relationship and then that's why they don't want you sharing anything, rather than make assumptions, discuss with your partner first. You can also discuss with the wise people around you, the close people around you, and then consider if you're actually being stopped from sharing about your relationship generally. Like, I mean, you can't tell your close friends, you can't tell your guardians. Then, if that's the case, yeah, then that may be a red flag to check, right? But before you jump into conclusions and make assumptions, be sure to discuss with your partner and also speak with wise people around you. Okay, so in conclusion, really, there's no general rule about when or what to share about your relationship on social media, right? But it's important to communicate with your partner about your preference. And also, it's important to be wise and discreet. I'm not telling you to keep your relationship a secret from your loved ones. That's not really safe to do. It's not such a wise decision. But you have to be wise and careful about what to share. And then I also believe that you're a child of God, right? If you are, that's awesome, right? Pray to God for wisdom and He will lead you both. Right. So let me know what you think. Do you prefer to share or not to share? Do you think there are rules for sharing about your relationship on social media? Drop a comment on the blog and let me know what you think. I would really love to hear from you. All right. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I hope you've learned something, and I trust that you'll be making the right decision about your own relationship. Okay, don't forget, please be sure to subscribe on your podcast platform, share this podcast with your friends, and also leave a comment on the blog and let me know what you think. Should you share your relationship on social media or not? All right, thank you guys. Till the next episode. Yeah, so one more thing I thought to chip in is, remember, you're not married until you're married, right? If you're dating, you need to be careful about the way you share about your relationship online. Okay, so that if for a good reason you have to end the relationship, you wouldn't have to, deal with so much in cleaning up your social media or people's opinion about your past relationships. So yeah, be careful. You're not married until you're married. So don't put out your life in such a way that it's so joined together that in case you have to actually split, it might cause a problem. All right, just thought to chip that in. Okay.